Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Too Many Cooks with me, Charles Burns. And today I have Christoph Langwallner with me, over from Singapore. Can you hear me okay? Because you had an issue last time. We okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I can hear you.
Okay, there's a slight delay in the video. I think it'll sort itself out. It did yesterday, so I'll just continue and let's see what happens. So I've had a little look at your background and stuff. So it looks like from way back when in 89 to 95, you studied at the College of Food Technology and Economy, and you became an engineer in meat processing. Can you talk to us about what you did there and what that was?
Oh my God, this is a long time ago. Yeah, so let me try to remember. The story is like this, that I grew up essentially in the countryside of Salzburg, just north of the city, really, and grew up in a family business with a perfect supply chain. A perfect supply chain is essentially like we used to raise our own cattle. We used to have our own dairy cows and pigs and stuff like that. And then we had our own butchery, and we sold our own produce in our restaurant as well as in a small shop. And so I got inspired really to look into agriculture to start with. I have a diploma there, and then I decided no, it's not enough. I want to study more. I want to get a little bit more into the science side of things, and picked up this college, which was literally very, very new.
Mm-hmm.
So the Zoom has just kicked me out.
Yeah, I've just put the video off for a moment, just while, because last time I did this yesterday, and the audio is perfectly fine. I'll try the video in a few minutes to see if it kind of rectifies itself. So yeah, just carry on.
Okay, so you control us.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to understand a little bit more of the science stuff. I was really inspired to look into biology and to food science, and because the way I grew up, it just made sense: agriculture and then food processing, and then off you go, and then you sell the products that you produce.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, it got me inspired to actually look at this particular college, which is quite close to Vienna. When I started to go there and get going. This is also, by the way, the place where I found my love and my wife, mother of our two children. So the journey that has happened ever since then dates back to those days.
Wow, that's amazing. So then your first couple of jobs, I'm right in thinking you a manager of hygiene and laboratory, then manager of research and development. Were these companies food production companies or factories of some description?
Yes, it's a very, very classic entry job from a college like this. We are essentially looking into quality control. You look into first sort of R&D sort of jobs, processing, development, and things like that. Yes, they were all in the food processing type of industry. The first one was literally an FMCG company. The second one was an ingredients company. Mm-hmm. And I got inspired to really to keep on going and keep on learning more. So yeah, the first couple of, I think, 5 years or so, I then decided to leave Austria and pick up a job in the UK, which was quite challenging to start with.
Why did you decide to leave Austria? Did you leave with your wife as well, or did she stay? Or was your girlfriend at the time? Did she stay over in Austria?
No, we decided to go together. We had a small child when we moved, and our son was born while we were in the UK. So now we decided to go together, and it was an opportunity for us to, first time step out of Austria, go and live abroad in a new country. Today I'm smiling about it because it's just like normal. But yeah, it was quite challenging way back then. My English was very, very poor. I wasn't able to literally go in a pub and order food. I needed to point at the menu and stuff like that. So it was quite challenging at the beginning, but I had fantastic colleagues all around me. The company was very, very welcoming. I was onboarded quickly and fast and thrown into the deep end, literally, and made to swim. And I guess it took me about 6 months to really sort myself out, and quickly contributed to that organization, which was fantastic.
So what that organization is called, Kerry Ingredients. I imagine it says it on the tin, pardon the pun, that are they producing ingredients for manufacturing, food manufacturing, for and what sort of products are they actually producing?
Kerry Ingredients, or the Kerry Group, is an Irish group, and it consists out of essentially three parts. Predominantly, there's an ingredients part where food processors buy ingredients, and the second part is actually foods per se. So there is a number of brands that you will find in the retail stores in the UK as well as in Ireland that are actually manufactured by Kerry Foods. So it was a fantastic exposure to both worlds. So, you know, our sister company, or our brothers and sisters at the Kerry Food side, were our customers, and we had to go and speak to their competitors as well, which was a challenge in its own right. But here we go. This is where you kind of learn, you know, sort of what an NDA, non-disclosure, really means. Keep your stuff secret, honor the relationship with people, and so on and so forth. So that was really, really great.
And then within 2 years or so, maybe a little less, you then moved to Moscow. What was the inspiration behind? And that was, again, an opportunity arose and you thought, this is great, let's give something else a go. Was that what happened?
There was September the 11th, 2001 in between, which fundamentally changed not only the world, but also my little job, my little world. For us as a family, that a lot of things changed because of 9/11. Big projects collapsed because of 9/11. And so there was time then to pause a little bit and to say, you know, what is it that we want to do going forward? And what happened was there's an Austrian entrepreneur who decided to do something which probably other people have said is absolutely crazy to do, but he decided to do it. And I basically said, yeah, I'm willing to be part of this. My family moved back to Austria for some time. I took up that job. I traveled forwards and backwards quite frequently. And then in 2005, my wife and I decided to making sure that the family gets united again. And we decided to become an entrepreneur. And yeah, and started a business in India, in a place called Kerala, close to Cochin.
Wow.
We had about 5 tons of enthusiasm with us, a little bit of money, a seed investor, and we got started. And today, that particular business that we started and founded in 2005, got really going in 2006, is today India's largest ingredients manufacturer, Indian seasoning manufacturer.
Are you still involved in that business?
Until recently, if I say recently, about 5-6 years ago, I still was involved. I've exited from that business in 2012. But I was involved. I had some sort of a role on the board for some time. I have still deep friendships there and very, very close relationships with today's owners of the business. We are in frequent touch with them. So no bridges burned at all. All happy smiles, and great to see a company like that to blossom, really. You know, hundreds of jobs provided, a lot of sustainability angles there, because you literally create something out of 5 tons of enthusiasm. And today it's a big player in the industry. Yeah,
that's amazing. So, and then during this time as well, you did a MBA. What led you to do that? Were you kind of, was the thought process, I'm starting this entrepreneurship thing, I want to have some more foundation of knowledge? Why did you do the MBA? What did you learn from it?
So that particular kick was done by a gentleman, a very, very senior guy called Jimmy O'Brien, in Kerry Ingredients while I was in the UK. There was a project that I looked into, and Jimmy kind of put a seed in my brain saying that, you know, if we do this, then you should be doing that. And I said, Jimmy, I can't do that. I don't know. I was literally scared. But I remember I was on the M4 driving back towards Bristol, and he was sitting next to me when we had this conversation, and I was scared, but then he said, don't worry, just sign up for an MBA that equips you with stuff that you need in order to do this role, and the rest will sort out. You have a huge network behind you in Kerry. And that particular interaction with Jimmy followed me all these years. And if you look at my previous educational background is all about science, agriculture, food processing, food science, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So to become an entrepreneur, I thought it would not be bad if I would understand the financial world and essentially marketing. It would be great to have these two things onboarded as well. And I decided to do an MBA with the Open University Business School in Milton Keynes. Was one of the first distance learning programs, which was challenging for 3.5 years, a full-time job. Actually, I did most of it during my stint in Russia, and I finished off the last part while I started the business in Kerala in India. Very, very heavy times, young family, different country, studying abroad. And yeah, so it was a challenging time, but I don't regret a single minute. Because it just really helps you to understand much more than you otherwise would if you just have to learn from experience.
That makes a lot of sense. And then later on, did you go to Oxford Business School as well? Is that a similar thing? How did that come about?
So there was the next big thing, which was the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. And during the financial crisis, we looked at refinancing the organization, and we looked at private equity, venture capital money for the business in India. And I thought, if I sit with these sort of sharks on a table and I don't understand what they're saying, I look stupid. And also I want to understand how they think. And one way of doing this was to basically go to Oxford and say, hey, there's a super program. Let's do it, and let's just educate myself before I get on the capital market and be subjected to the sharks of the capital industry. So that is just basically equipping myself with that sort of background.
That makes a lot of sense. So, and then we go to more recently. You moved out to Singapore. Was that again an opportunity sprung up, or you just fun to move to Singapore, or how did that come about?
So Singapore has always been on the radar screen. If you have a business in India, Singapore is a natural hub into the Southeast Asia region. So you look at export opportunities and so on and so forth. But we also decided at one point in time to explore China, whether or not there's a market for the previous company. So Singapore has been always on the radar screen, and has always been not only a hub for financial reasons, but also a hub for many of our customers. There are regional headquarters here. So you keep on hopping into Singapore for project work and what have you. However, what really got me relocated to Singapore was an opportunity to work with one of the great agriculture commodity companies called Olam. Because after some period of time in 2012, I think I mentioned it earlier, I then exited from the business. Yeah. And I had this opportunity to actually get involved into a massive, big organization, talking billions and billions and billions of turnover, so many different countries, so many different products. And it was a great stint. And that particular opportunity got me relocated to Singapore. But as it was like a couple of years into this, my entrepreneurial bug bit me again. And I thought, there's so much that needs to be done with regards to the production of food, its sustainability, the impact that we leave behind on the planet, planetary health, farming community health. And I thought way back then, and so as far my journey has proven me right, I thought way back then that in order to really have an impact, probably as a startup company, as a small company, you're quicker, you're much more agile, and you're not really confined to a particular business model that is geared up for the huge commodity products. In other words, I was looking for flexibility again, and I didn't mind stepping out of a safety net of a multinational and starting my own company. I was quite used to. In fact, I love it. Deep in my heart, I'm an entrepreneur, and today I can't even think of doing anything else anyway. So, and that was really the reason that got us going. Then there was a big decision that we had to make, and that was, do we stay and bring this company that we call Names? Do we actually incorporate that in Singapore? Do we locate that in Singapore, or are we exploring any other region? But then Singapore is a fantastic hub in the region, opens up into the ASEAN region. It's very close to India. It's close to China. It's not far away actually to Australia. Northern Australia is quite close to us. So within 6 hours of flights, you are literally exploring, billions and billions and billions of markets around the place. Plus also by the time we made this decision, I've been in that part of the world for probably some 10, 11 years, 12 years or something like that. And my network was in this region. So actually thinking of going back to Europe and doing names in Europe didn't feel the right thing to do. And so we decided to really stay in Singapore and make that to our headquarters and develop what we've done from here. And so far, so good. The decision was the right one. Simply because Singapore is fantastic in terms of infrastructure. It's awesome with regards to intellectual property protection. It's very, very stable, has a super cool government that looks after everyone here. Predominantly now, COVID-19 is a big challenge for everyone in the world. We're lucky that we are here. Then you have fantastic universities here. Singapore produces awesome talent. Research is actually embedded within the national agenda. So food has been embedded in the meantime also in the national agenda. So it has been proven the right location to be. As I said, the business model always has always considered Singapore as a market, yes, but also a stepping board into the region, and essentially strive to become more regional and do something for ASEAN and other parts in Asia.
My question is a slight tangent, but how have you found you've lived in Singapore, you lived in India, you lived obviously in Austria when you grew up, you've lived in the UK. How have you adapted? You clearly must be able to adapt quite quickly to different cultures, because it's not just, I always say, it's not just the language which is different. If you speak English, you're fortunate, a lot of people do speak English, but it's actually the way of doing business, the culture, the way in which you do business is very, very different in all these places. How have you been able to adapt to that?
It's a very, very interesting question. I think what I've learned early on in my career is that if you have the opportunity to expose yourself to different cultures, then one way of doing that is to immerse immediately into it with local friends. Try to make local friends. Try to have local communities, rather than stay and be an expat. If you consider yourself an expat, I was an entrepreneur, but if you consider yourself being an expat, then you are staying in a little bit of a bubble that is artificially created around you. But the moment you actually punch this bubble and go out and meet people and create friendships, then literally in all the countries that I've worked in, there always are opportunities to make new friends, to connect to different people. And then the fun starts, because then you are exposed to the cuisine, for example, that the locals go to, rather than the foreigners or the visitors or the tourists. And from there you pick up so many different facets and niches and nuances of what makes Kerala a great place. What makes Singapore such a different country altogether, though it is a tiny small island. I guess that's what is really important, is allowing yourself and embrace the culture and the people, and never mind to be called foreigner every now and then. Never mind to be called, hey, this is the white guy, or I don't know how many times I've been called the white guy in so many different languages. Don't mind it. Take it with a punch of salt. Have fun with it, and engage with them. If you then pick up a few words here and there, start to learn a little bit the language, even if you pronounce it totally wrong, it doesn't matter. Let them laugh and laugh with them, and from there you connect. And I think this has been probably the most honest and deep felt connection to these places.
And how have you found, from a business standpoint, actually, you've had a successful business in India, you've worked in Russia, you've worked in the UK, Austria, Singapore, etc. How have you found the actual business customs, in terms of Certain places, it's a done thing that you go. You become very friendly with to do business. Other places, it's maybe more reserved. Have you found that quite challenging to adjust to?
Not really. At the early days, probably yes, because there's a learning curve. But if you are on the hockey stick learning curve, then it goes quite quickly and quite fast. Look, at the end of the day, there are a couple of core principles that always apply. Businesses per se will buy products that they need from people they are competitive and like to work with. So if you have a competitive advantage and you have a good relationship and you are honest in terms of how you approach it, it's rather easy to make connections, I would say. And I've always played it in that way. I've always been a very authentic person. I've always tried to, never hide behind things. So that was actually quite this unifying sort of baseline that connects business everywhere in the world. But then, of course, there are then uniquenesses you close a deal differently in Russia than you close a deal in India. And certainly there's another dimension to it in China and in Singapore, or even in Australia for that matter. And I guess today I've unfortunately acquired the sort of age and experience that allows you then to quickly shift the approach that you have. Today I'm speaking to a Chinese entrepreneur, I speak different than I would speak to an entrepreneur in Australia or in India. Not because I am changing, no, but because I know what matters to them. In China, for the Chinese culture, the concept of face is very, very important. Whereas, for example, if you think about Australia, value for money would be upfront in a discussion. What is it that I get for my buck? So you adopt to those cultural needs, and I honestly, I did never feel that as I actually have fun with it. I like the challenge of having to think about, how do I prepare myself to go into this meeting? Have I considered everything? What do I know about the person and things like that? So that is on the business to business side of things. If you then look into the business to consumer side of things, obviously what we are trying to do today is to really have that similar sort of experience also translate into a brand with the same sort of authenticity, with the same sort of speaking with consumers rather than at them, as a big differentiator for me. And the journey as far has been just fantastic, though the most recent project is in a beta launch right now. It's just in a test market right now, but the feedback is very, very encouraging, and I think it's doable to do it in that way.
So that's a really nice segue. Let's segue into what we're up to now. But just before we get to there, so the names company, that was a natural ingredients company. How did that then lead you into nutritional paradox, which I presume is something that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, thank you. At Names is a science-based organization. So at the beginning, we have developed technologies and scientific approaches to basically come up with processes or ingredients or indeed foods that help to transform the agro-food industry in the largest context. So we picked out things that are unsustainable. We picked out projects and ideas that essentially are unmet needs from a supply chain point of view or from a consumer need. Now, and you don't have to search long for these opportunities, particularly if you look at how we nurture ourselves today and how we eat and consume food, right? So more than 60% of all calories that are consumed in today's global world originate from 3 crops only. That cannot be healthy. It's a very calorie dense, obesogenic environment that we all have created over the past 100 years or so, since the Green Revolution. So there is a tremendous opportunity out there in terms of looking at agrobiodiversity, bring diversity back into our food, because the moment you do that, you enlarge the amount of nutrients that our body intakes, and with that comes well-being. Bodily well-being as well as mental well-being. And as we know today, in today's day and age, there is a shift towards more plant-based dieting. Flexitarians are coming about, vegans, vegetarians, and what have you. So I think the hard boundaries as we have known them a decade or 2 decades ago are literally blurred now. They're disappearing, and people, because of their well-being, and particularly now because of COVID-19, people really experience that the health aspect is a big challenge, right? So if you're locked down and you don't get to your nutrients that you need in order to boost your immune system and such like, we know from our own research that people are scared. People are scared. Is my immune system strong enough to fight that particular virus? Is a question that people have in their mind. On the other side of things, because we have consolidated everything so much, we have left farmers behind with single crops. And if these single crops are getting against them, they don't make money on it, they have a tough time to survive, be it a large scale farmer or be it a small farmer community. With just such few crops being manufactured, there is also this aspect of leaving land behind. Land is degrading at an unprecedented speed, which is a big, big problem, because if we keep on doing the same thing over and over again, by the way, Albert Einstein called that insanity. If we do that, keep on doing that, if we keep on doing that, then we will not stop the deforestation in the region. We will not stop the deforestation in the Amazon region, but we must stop the deforestation. So the projects that we have looked into is to basically say, can we make use of degraded arable land so that we bring one, biodiversity back onto this soil, onto this land, so that we can rejuvenate it? Number one. Number two, if that is the case, can we actually then come up with crops that give a new income to the farming community? And if we pick out the right sort of crop, is that crop then beneficial for health aspects, for the health well-being, for the bodily well-being as well as mental well-being? And that was always embedded in names. But I had to always explain it. And I had to always explain, why are we doing this so complicated? People are saying this is so complicated. No, it's not complicated. This is just as we used to do it 150 years ago. We're just doing it and trying to do it on scale, and we're trying to do it for comfort food. So it's not complicated. But it was frustrating, because to actually meet people, you spend 20 minutes explaining what this is. So we initiated something called the Nutritional Paradox, basically, and the Nutritional Paradox in detail explains what is broken. And with that, we then have basically a sort of a non-for-profit arm of ours that communicates the reason why we exist as an organization. And it gives us the answer to the why. And our consumer brand that we're bringing about right now is essentially absolutely aimed at taking the Nutritional Paradox on. Go and grow products that strive on degraded arable land, pick out products that grow under the climate that is changing, the water tables are dropping, the soils are being poor, and give communities the sort of income that they need in order to survive by linking them directly to us without middlemen, and then process these wonderful crops into ingredients so that the ultimate convenient food is then nutrient dense and not calorie dense. And that's what we have done. And in order to shortcut a long introduction as to why we exist, we initiated the Nutritional Paradox. We have then done an SDG 17-led partnership model last year in KL, where we proudly announced that we're going to launch our own consumer brand next year, beginning of 2020. Little did we know that we have a COVID-19 situation at the beginning of 2020, but we pulled it off. So it was Mother's Day when we started the beta launch. We are a few weeks away from testing our final steps, and then please come and order.
So that is called What If Food, right? That's the brand you're talking about.
What If Foods, yeah. Yeah, What If Foods.
So what kind of, we get the why, what are the actual products that you're offering at the moment?
So What If Foods essentially takes these technologies that Names has produced and essentially converts those into easy to use sort of food items. And our first portfolio is an Asian comfort food. I have friends in Asia that can't go to bed at night without having an instant noodle. And we took this on in the way that we have looked into the process of why do we deep fry? Why are we using palm oil? Can we come up with a processing step that eliminates that? If we do so, then we have an opportunity to substitute the palm oil with nutrient-dense products using these what we call future fit crops, and bring that in without the loss of organoleptic properties. So the product tastes the same, but we have these future fit crops in there, and they are nutrient-dense rather than just energy rich. So a key cornerstone of the first portfolio of What If is that particular noodles technology. And we are playing around with colors in the sense that we are, for example, have launched with moringa, which is a green colored instant noodle. And then a second version is a plant protein rich form of that product. So we have more than twice as much plant protein in that instant noodle. And we are proud to say that it's a complete protein because we combine grain as well as legume. And hence you don't have the problem of essential amino acids. Rest assured, everything is in there that you need. So that is one part of the portfolio. The second part of the portfolio is taking similar concepts and designs into sort of soups and shake solutions. And what we have decided to do is, because soups and shakes, if you're think about a pantry in an office situation, or right now a pantry in our house, literally my day starts at early hours and I'm on Zoom calls all day. There's even at home not much time to really do a lunch cooking. So I am continuously go to our pantry and cook up a quick soup, do a quick shake in the morning, and off I go. The way we have designed these two other cornerstones of our portfolio are that you have all the plant proteins that you need, again, designed towards a complete protein with grains as well as legume. We include our future fit crops in it. So there's the Bambara groundnut as another key cornerstone in there. And in order to make it really immune boosting, we have entered into a partnership with a company called Biogena, which is a supplement company, a nutrient company in Austria. And together with them, we are basically topping up with nutrients that we do not have yet from the crops coming. We top it all up so that you have a full nutrient supply. So one portion of our products is not only tasting nice, but is also giving you the sort of micronutrients that you need in order to be resilient to what's going on in today's day and age. So it's all about diversifying the crop portfolio that we use, as well as boosting the immune system, increase the fiber content, increase the plant protein content, in order to bring a much healthier well-being about SDG number 3.
Well, I think that's a really great place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been really, really educational for me, and inspiring to know someone's gone and done what they wanted to do and been in different countries. And certainly quite a lot of your story resonates with me as to things I'm trying to do and want to do, etc. So it's great to hear from someone like yourself.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I look forward to the next interaction that we have.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Cheers.